The skies above Earth changed forever on a clear day in 2157. Strange lights appeared in orbit, bringing ships of designs no human had imagined. The Galactic Confederation had arrived. Commander John Russell stood tall in his blue uniform as the alien delegation entered the United Nations Hall. His heart beat fast, but his face showed no fear. As head of Earth's space defense, he knew this day would change everything. "We welcome you to Earth," said the UN Secretary, smiling at the 7 different alien forms before him. The tallest alien stepped forward. Ambassador Zorlak of the veteran species had blue skin and 4 arms. His large eyes studied the humans with cold interest. "We have watched your kind for some time," Zorlak said, his voice deep and smooth. "Your progress is notable." For 3 days, the aliens shared amazing technology and stories of life among the stars. People around the world celebrated in the streets. News channels talked of nothing else. Earth would finally join the galactic community. But Dr. Lisa Howard noticed something wrong. In her lab at the Global Science Center, she studied the aliens' biology samples they had shared. "John, look at this," she said when Commander Russell visited her lab. She pointed to her computer screen. "They'd been studying us too. But these tests, they're looking for weaknesses." Russell frowned. "Are you sure?" Before Lisa could answer, alarms blared throughout the building. Russell's phone buzzed with urgent messages. The aliens had acted without warning. Their ships surrounded Earth and deployed strange devices in orbit. Other Confederation vessels appeared at the edge of the solar system, creating a barrier of energy that cut Earth off from the stars. At the emergency meeting that followed, Ambassador Zorlak showed his true face. "Humans are too unpredictable," he announced to the shocked world leaders. "Your genetics showed dangerous potential. Your minds solve problems in ways that threaten stability." Admiral Alan Pierce, leader of Earth's United Defense Forces, stood up in anger. "You pretended to come in peace." Zorlak's face showed no emotion. "We came to assess. You have failed. The Confederation has decided. Earth will remain quarantined within your solar system. Your remaining deep space ships will be destroyed. Any attempt to pass the barrier will result in immediate action." Screens around the room showed Earth's pride. The 5 interstellar ships that had been built for exploration, blasted into nothing by alien weapons. "This is not negotiable," Zorlak continued. "You may continue your lives within these limits. Be grateful for our mercy." Many council members voted for more permanent solutions. After the aliens left the chamber, the room erupted in shouts and cries. Some leaders wanted to fight back immediately. Others wanted to beg for reconsideration. Commander Russell stood silently by the window, watching the alien ships hover in the sky. Dr. Howard joined him, her face pale but determined. "They think they know us," she whispered. "They think they can predict what we'll do." Admiral Pierce walked over, his eyes hard with resolve. "They've made a mistake. Humans don't accept cages." Russell nodded slowly. "They expect us to either attack in anger and fail, or accept our fate and fade away." "So what will we do?" asked Dr. Howard. Russell turned to face his colleagues, his voice quiet but firm. "Neither. We'll do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds. We adapt. We prepare. And when they least expect it." Pierce finished the thought. "We prove them wrong." As night fell over a changed Earth, humans looked up at the stars that were now beyond their reach. But in labs and military bases, in government halls and universities, plans were already forming. The aliens had judged humanity and found them wanting. One day, the galaxy would realize just how wrong they were. 10 years passed since the aliens locked humanity in their solar system. On the surface, people carried on with their lives. They built cities, had families, and tried to forget the stars were now off limits. The Confederation ships watching Earth became fewer each year. The aliens believed humans had accepted their fate. They were wrong. Deep beneath the old Denver military base, Dr. Catherine Morgan wiped sweat from her forehead. The room hummed with energy as her team worked on a strange device. Metal parts from alien technology salvaged during the quarantine lay scattered across tables. "Try it again," she said to her assistant. The machine glowed with blue light, then sparked. Catherine sighed, but didn't look discouraged. "We're getting closer." The energy patterns almost matched the barrier technology. In another part of the underground complex, Colonel Paul Baker watched soldiers train in a large chamber. These weren't regular military. They were part of the Prometheus Initiative, a secret organization created to find a way past the alien barriers. "Faster," Baker called to the troops practicing in low-gravity conditions. "The aliens won't give you time to think out there." Baker had led 12 missions to the edge of the solar system. Each time, his teams collected more data on the energy barrier keeping humanity trapped. Each time, they returned with new ideas for Dr. Morgan's research. "Colonel, you need to see this," said a young lieutenant, rushing into the training area. Baker followed him to the communications center where William Grant was waiting. Once a respected diplomat who had met the aliens during first contact, Grant now used his knowledge to spy on the Confederation's activities. "Look here," Grant pointed to a screen showing distant space near Neptune. "The patrol pattern has changed. For 3 hours each cycle, this section is completely unwatched." Baker studied the data. "Are you sure?" "Positive. They're getting careless. They think we've given up." That evening, the leaders of Prometheus gathered in a secure room. Admiral Pierce, now with gray in his beard, sat at the head of the table. Commander Russell, promoted to general, stood by a large map of the solar system. Dr. Howard, Dr. Morgan, Colonel Baker, and William Grant completed the group. "The aliens are watching us less," General Russell explained. "Their patrols are predictable now." Dr. Morgan stepped forward. "My team has made progress. We understand the basic principles of their barrier technology. It's not solid. It's a field of energy that reacts to certain particles. If we could create the right frequency." "How long?" asked Admiral Pierce. 2 years, maybe less," Dr. Morgan replied. "We need more samples from the barrier itself." Colonel Baker nodded. "My team can get them. We found a gap in their patrol schedule." Dr. Howard spoke up. "We've learned more about their biology, too. All 7 species have similar weaknesses we never noticed before. If we ever face them in battle, this knowledge will help." Admiral Pierce looked around the table. 10 years ago, they thought they'd broken us. They expected us to fight back immediately or give up forever. Instead, we've been patient. We've studied. We've prepared." William Grant smiled slightly. "The Confederation's attention is elsewhere now. Some kind of political trouble between the member species. They've pulled ships from our sector." "Then it's time to move forward," said General Russell. "Colonel Baker, prepare your best team. Dr. Morgan needs more samples to complete her work." As the meeting ended, they looked at the large screen showing Earth from space. The blue planet seemed peaceful, unaware of the plans being made to break its chains. In secret bases across Earth and hidden stations on Mars, the Moon, and the moons of Jupiter, humans built and trained. Factories disguised as regular industries produced parts that would eventually become ships. Scientists worked day and night on new technologies. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had given humanity time to think, time to plan, and time to grow stronger in the shadows. The countdown to humanity's return to the stars had begun. The year 2185 arrived. Nearly 30 years had passed since Earth's exile. In that time, children had grown up never knowing the freedom to explore space. They learned about the aliens and the barrier in history classes, like an old story that happened long ago. But deep in a secret base under the Pacific Ocean, the work never stopped. Dr. Catherine Morgan stood in front of her team, her hair now streaked with gray. On the table before them sat a small device that glowed with soft blue light. "Today we make history," she said, her voice steady despite her excitement. "This is the phase shift generator, small enough to fit in your hand, but powerful enough to pass through the alien barrier. The scientists and military personnel broke into applause. Admiral Pierce, now in his 70s but still sharp-eyed, nodded with satisfaction. "How soon can we test it?" he asked. "The ship is ready," said Captain Ryan Ellis, stepping forward. At 35, he represented the new generation of Prometheus Initiative members. "The Defiance can launch tomorrow." The Defiance was unlike any ship humans had built before. Small and sleek, it combined Earth technology with ideas learned from studying alien devices. Hidden in an underwater hangar, it had been built for one purpose: to slip past the barrier undetected. "Remember," Dr. Morgan cautioned, "the phase shift only works for short periods, 30 minutes at most before it needs to recharge." Ellis nodded. "That's all we need for the first mission." The next day, the Defiance rose from the ocean far from any watching eyes. Its special engines left no heat signature for the alien monitors to detect. As it reached the edge of the solar system, the crew fell silent. Activating phase shift in 3, 2, 1. Ellis pressed the button. The ship shimmered slightly. Outside the windows, the faint glow of the alien barrier appeared, then passed through them like a curtain of light. For the first time in decades, a human ship traveled beyond the solar system. No alarms sounded. No alien ships appeared. The barrier, designed to keep humans contained, had failed. "We did it," whispered Ellis. "Send the signal." Back on Earth, in the command center, cheers erupted as the Defiance's message arrived. Dr. Morgan closed her eyes in relief, while Admiral Pierce allowed himself a rare smile. "Phase 1 complete," he announced. "Now begins Phase 2. Over the next 6 months, the Defiance made 12 more trips beyond the barrier. Each time, it traveled farther, mapping star systems and finding planets where humans might establish outposts far from alien eyes. On Earth, industrialist Sophia Martinez converted her factories to secretly build more ships using Dr. Morgan's technology. As the granddaughter of resistance fighters from the first days of exile, she had dedicated her fortune to humanity's freedom. "We need to work faster," she told her engineers as they designed production lines. "Once we establish the first outpost, we'll need to supply it quickly." Dr. Eric Sullivan, a communications specialist, developed new ways for humans to talk across vast distances without being detected by the aliens. "The key is to make our signals look like natural space noise," he explained to his team. "The aliens won't notice what they aren't looking for." By the end of 2185, the Defiance had found the perfect location for humanity's first colony beyond the barrier. A small rocky planet with breathable air orbiting the yellow star. Captain Ellis planted Earth's flag on its surface and named it Hope. "This is just the beginning," he said as he looked up at unfamiliar stars. "From here, we build our future." Back on Earth, the first colonists prepared in secret. Engineers built habitat modules disguised as regular shipping containers. Doctors trained for the medical challenges of a new world. Families said quiet goodbyes to those chosen to go first. After decades of patience, humanity was about to take its first real step back to the stars. And the Galactic Confederation had no idea what was coming. The years passed quickly. From 2200 to 2250, humanity grew beyond Earth in ways the Galactic Confederation never imagined possible. The aliens still patrolled the barrier around the solar system, believing humans remained safely contained. They never noticed the small ships that slipped through the cracks in their defenses. On the planet Hope, the first human colony outside the barrier had grown from a small outpost of 50 people to a thriving city of 10,000. Director Benjamin Foster stood on a hill overlooking the settlement, pride in his eyes. At 62, he had spent half his life planning humanity's secret spread to the stars. "Another transport arrived safely last night," said his assistant. 30 families and 15 engineers. Foster nodded. "How many colonies does that make now?" 23 major settlements and 42 smaller outposts across 17 star systems. All of this happened without a single alien ship detecting them. The humans had become masters of stealth and patience. Far from hope, on a rocky moon orbiting a gas giant, Admiral Victoria Cruz inspected the newest addition to humanity's hidden fleet. The shipyard, carved into the moon's surface, was invisible from space. Inside, thousands of workers built vessels that combined human creativity with reverse-engineered alien technology. "The Guardian is almost ready," said the chief engineer, pointing to a warship 3 times larger than anything Earth had built before. "We've installed the improved phase shift generators. It can stay invisible to alien sensors for days, not just hours." Cruz ran her hand along the ship's smooth hull. "And the weapons systems. Better than anything the Confederation has. We've been studying their technology for decades while developing our own. They've had no reason to improve. They think they're the most advanced species in this part of space." Meanwhile, on a jungle planet named Eden, Dr. Noah Chen checked the vital signs of colonists who had volunteered for his adaptation program. The planet's air contained elements not found on Earth, and its gravity was slightly stronger. "How do you feel?" he asked a young woman who had undergone his treatment. She took a deep breath of Eden's air. "Better than ever. I can run faster here than I could on Earth." Dr. Chen made notes on his tablet. "Perfect. The genetic adjustments are working exactly as planned." His work allowed humans to adapt more quickly to new worlds. While other species in the Confederation needed special suits or breathing equipment on non-native planets, humans were learning to thrive almost anywhere. Back on Earth, the deception continued. The Confederation's occasional inspections found nothing suspicious. Old ships moved between planets in the solar system, careful never to approach the barrier. Earth's leaders spoke respectfully to alien representatives, never hinting at the truth. But in secret bunkers, they received reports from the colonies and planned the next steps. The old members of the Prometheus Initiative were mostly gone now, but their children and grandchildren carried on the work. Each colony developed its own culture and strengths. New Washington became known for its engineers. Liberty specialized in agriculture that could feed millions. Olympus, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, produced more ships each year. The humans shared everything they learned. When one colony made a breakthrough, all benefited. This cooperation gave them advantages the divided species of the Confederation never achieved. "How long can we keep this hidden?" Admiral Cruz asked Director Foster during a secure communication. Foster's face looked serious on the screen. "Not forever. But every year we grow stronger. We now have more people living outside the barrier than inside it. We have technology the aliens don't suspect we possess. And when they find out," Foster's expression hardened, "then they'll discover that the humans they exiled are not the same humans they'll face across the battlefield." The silent expansion continued, day by day, ship by ship, world by world. Humanity was preparing for the moment when silence would no longer be necessary. The day humanity feared and prepared for finally arrived in 2255. A Confederation survey ship, the Stellar Mapper, was charting unexplored regions beyond their usual territory. The aliens had no reason to expect trouble in this empty sector of space. As the ship passed near the human colony world of New Horizon, its sensors detected something unexpected: artificial signals and energy readings. The alien captain, curious about what might be an unknown civilization, changed course to investigate. What the aliens found shocked them beyond words. The thriving human city stood on the planet's surface. Thousands of people walked its streets. Ships came and went from its spaceport. Farms and factories spread across the landscape. Humans, who should have been trapped in their home system, had somehow escaped and built all this in secret. The alien ship retreated to safe distance and sent an urgent message to Confederation headquarters. Within days, a diplomatic vessel arrived, carrying Ambassador Krell, a high-ranking member of the Vedran species. His mission: find out how humans had broken free and assess the threat they might pose. Captain Olivia Wright, commander of New Horizons Defense Force, waited at the landing pad as the alien ship touched down. At 45, she had never seen Earth. She had been born on Hope, the first colony. She stood tall in her blue uniform, surrounded by a small honor guard. Ambassador Krell stepped from his ship, his four arms held in what his species considered a formal position. His large eyes widened as he saw humans standing confidently on a world that should have been beyond their reach. This colony violates the quarantine established by the Galactic Confederation, he stated without greeting. How did you escape the barrier around your system? Captain Wright smiled slightly. Welcome to New Horizon, Ambassador. We have prepared a meeting place where we can discuss matters more comfortably. She led the alien delegation to a large building in the center of the city. Inside, in a room with windows overlooking the colony, representatives from the human cooperative waited. This was the government formed by all human worlds, working together while maintaining their independence. You have broken Confederation law, Krell began once they were seated. You must return to your home system immediately. A woman stepped forward. I am Governor Janet Walsh of New Horizon. This world has been our home for 30 years. We will not abandon it. Krell's skin changed color slightly, a sign of anger in his species. The Confederation will enforce the quarantine. Your few escaped colonies will be isolated and contained. Captain Wright touched a control on the table. A holographic map appeared in the air, showing hundreds of points of light, each representing a human settlement or outpost. These are not few escaped colonies, Ambassador, she said calmly. Humanity has established itself across 78 star systems. We have over 40 major colony worlds with populations in the millions and hundreds of smaller settlements. Krell stared at the map in disbelief. Impossible. Our patrols would have detected. Your patrols were looking for large ships trying to break through the barrier, Wright explained. Not small ones, slipping past it unnoticed. While you watched our sun, we explored the stars. From a side door, General Marcus Ramirez entered the room. As head of the Human Cooperative's military forces, he had spent decades preparing for this moment. Ambassador, he said, his voice deep and confident, we do not seek conflict with the Confederation. We only wish to live freely among the stars, as is the right of all intelligent species. Krell stood abruptly. The Council will hear of this. Expect our response within days. As the alien delegation returned to their ship, Captain Wright and General Ramirez watched from the window. Will they attack? Wright asked. Ramirez nodded slowly. Almost certainly. They can't allow us to challenge their authority. But we're ready for them. Across human space, a signal went out. Ships moved into defensive positions. Hidden weapons platforms activated. The decades of preparation were about to be tested. Humanity's time in the shadows was over. 1 week after discovering the human colonies, the Confederation launched their attack. A fleet of 200 ships appeared near New Horizon, expecting to find a helpless settlement. Instead, they met Admiral Daniel Harrison and the First Fleet of the Human Cooperative. Harrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defiance Prime. At 52, he had spent his entire career preparing for this day. The Admiral watched calmly as the alien ships approached. They're forming attack patterns, said his second-in-command. Traditional Confederation tactics, just like our simulations. Harrison nodded. They still think we're the same humans they encountered a century ago. Let them come closer. The Confederation commander sent a message. Surrender your illegal colony or be destroyed. Harrison waited until the alien ships were committed to their approach. Then he gave a simple order. Execute Maneuver Prometheus. The human ships, smaller and faster than the alien vessels, suddenly broke formation. Instead of meeting the Confederation head-on as expected, they split into 3 groups that attacked from unexpected angles. The alien formation, designed to face a direct assault, couldn't adjust quickly enough. Fire phase disruptors, Harrison ordered. Beams of energy struck the alien ships, not to destroy them but to disable their shields. The technology, developed by studying the barrier around Earth, worked perfectly against Confederation defenses. Within 2 hours, 30 alien ships were destroyed and 50 more damaged. The rest retreated in confusion, unprepared for human tactics and technology. Similar battles happened across human space as the Confederation tried to attack other colonies. Each time, they found humans ready and waiting with unexpected strategies. The war spread quickly. The Confederation, believing they were simply putting down escaped prisoners, sent larger fleets. Humans, fighting for their freedom and survival, met them with determination and creativity. Dr. Samantha Kelly led a team of scientists who had studied Confederation communications for decades. In her lab on the hidden world of Artemis, she finalized a special virus designed to infiltrate alien systems. It works by mimicking their normal data patterns, she explained to military leaders. Once inside their networks, it creates false signals that will confuse their ships. The virus was deployed during the Battle of Proxima Centauri, when the largest Confederation fleet yet assembled attacked the human shipyards there. As the alien vessels approached, their communication systems suddenly filled with contradictory orders. Ships fired on each other or moved into vulnerable positions. Admiral Harrison's fleet struck while the aliens were in disarray. The battle ended with a decisive human victory that shocked the Confederation's leadership. "How can they be defeating our best fleets?" demanded the Confederation Council during an emergency meeting. "They were primitives when we contained them." Ambassador Zorlak, now elderly but still influential, looked troubled. "We gave them something dangerous, a reason to unite and focus all their energy on survival. Instead of fighting each other as most species do, they worked together against us." 3 years into the war, cracks appeared in the Confederation unity. The Tellarites, one of the 7 member species, suffered heavy losses in a failed attack on human territory. When the Council ordered them to continue fighting, they refused. "The humans have offered peace to any species that recognizes their right to exist among the stars," said the Tellarite ambassador. "We accept their terms." 2 more species soon followed, breaking away from the Confederation to make separate agreements with humans. The once mighty alliance began to crumble. Commander Jacob Mitchell led a squadron of fighters that became legendary across human space. Their daring raids deep into Confederation territory showed that nowhere was safe from human reach. By 2265, the tide had clearly turned. Human ships now operated freely throughout the galaxy, while Confederation forces retreated to defend their core worlds. The species that had once exiled humanity now faced a terrible truth. They had created their own worst nightmare. The war ended in 2275 with a peace treaty signed on neutral ground, a small moon orbiting a gas giant far from any homeworld. Representatives from all species gathered in a simple dome structure built specially for the occasion. The Confederation, once proud and powerful, now sent delegates who spoke carefully and watched the humans with new respect. Laura Reed, chosen to represent humanity, stood tall as she addressed the gathering. At 35, she was the granddaughter of resistance fighters who had worked on Earth when the barrier first went up. Now she would help shape the future of the galaxy. "Today marks the end of conflict and the beginning of a new era," she said, her voice clear and strong. "The quarantine of Earth is officially lifted. The human race takes its place among the stars not as exiles, but as equals." The terms of peace changed everything. The Galactic Confederation would dissolve, replaced by the Interstellar Alliance where all species would have equal standing. No race would hold power over another. Earth, once isolated, would become one of the founding members. As the delegates signed the agreement, Chancellor Ziv of the veteran species, the race that had first judged humanity unworthy, approached Laura. "We made a grave mistake," he admitted. "We saw your adaptability as a threat. We never imagined it would become your greatest strength." Laura nodded. "When you pushed us away, you gave us room to grow in ways we might never have discovered otherwise." Over the next 5 years, the galaxy transformed. The energy barrier around the solar system became a historical monument. Ships from all worlds traveled freely between the stars. Trade routes opened between human colonies and alien planets. On New Terra, the largest human colony world, Governor Ethan Parker welcomed the first permanent alien residents. His city became famous as a place where different species learned to live and work together. Our world was built by humans who believed in cooperation, he told visitors. Now we extend that same spirit to all who wish to join us. Earth itself changed too. The old underground bases of the Resistance opened as museums. Children visited the labs where Dr. Morgan had created the first phase shift technology. They touched the preserved hull of the original Defiant ship that had first breached the barrier. Admiral Michelle Dawson, who had commanded human forces in the final battles of the war, now led the Alliance Defense Force, a combined fleet with ships and crews from all member species. Our strength comes from our differences, she told the recruits at the new academy on Mars. Each species brings unique perspectives and abilities. Together, we're stronger than any single race could be alone. In 2280, the Interstellar Alliance officially elected Laura Reed as its first chancellor. At her inauguration ceremony, representatives from 23 species stood together under a great dome on a newly constructed space station. Laura looked out at the gathering. Humans standing shoulder to shoulder with beings of all shapes and forms. Some had once been enemies. Now they were partners in building something new. A century ago, we were judged unworthy and cast out, she said in her speech. We were exiled because they feared what we might become. In our exile, we became exactly that. Not conquerors, but builders. Not warriors, but explorers. Not subjects, but leaders. She raised her hand toward the viewport, where Earth could be seen floating in the distance. From one world we spread to hundreds. From imprisonment we forged freedom. From rejection we created unity. The human spirit cannot be contained. It can only grow stronger when challenged. The gathered delegates applauded as Laura concluded. The stars once seemed out of reach. Now they are our home. And this is just the beginning. Across the galaxy, on worlds both familiar and strange, humans looked up at alien skies and saw not barriers, but possibilities. The empire they had built would continue to grow, not through conquest, but through cooperation. Unstoppable because it welcomed all who wished to join its journey. The exile had ended. Humanity's true story was just beginning.